Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the 24-hour blueprint for success. We are going to break down a text that honestly just cuts right through all the noise and complicated formulas we usually hear about achievement. Instead, it points us directly to a single, unavoidable metric that governs every single person on the planet. Right off the bat, think about the number 24. It's totally simple, it's finite, and it's completely non-negotiable. The text we're examining anchors its entire premise right here. You literally cannot borrow an extra hour from tomorrow, and there's no way to save an unused hour from yesterday. The author presents this number not just as a standard unit of measurement, but as this incredibly rigid boundary that frames our entire existence. In a world where we're constantly measuring what we lack, time is the one resource where we are completely, 100% maxed out from the second the clock strikes midnight. And that naturally leads us to a foundational question we all kind of have to confront. What is your time actually worth? If you have exactly 24 hours, just like everyone else, how are you valuing those hours? The source doesn't just want us to think about a basic hourly wage or a salary here. It's asking a much deeper, more penetrating question about intrinsic value. Because look, when you spend an hour scrolling on your phone, or an hour studying, or an hour working on a passion project, you are making a transaction. You're trading a non-renewable slice of your life for that specific activity. Understanding this blueprint means realizing that how you answer this question dictates absolutely everything else that follows. Now, the source challenges our preconceived notions by firmly establishing that time, rather than money or background, is the true level playing field for humanity. And wow, this is a massive paradigm shift. We live in a society that constantly highlights inequality, right? Differences in wealth, differences in upbringing, access to resources. And while those differences are undeniably real, the text pivots our attention back to this really profound baseline truth. Regardless of your socioeconomic background, whether you were born into immense wealth or you're currently struggling just to make ends meet, the universe grants you the exact same 24-hour window as everyone else. A billionaire cannot buy a 25th hour in the day. It is the one strictly democratic resource we possess. The source material directly compares high achievers with those who are struggling financially, and it points to a very specific gap between them. And spoiler alert, it's not necessarily a gap in raw talent or sheer luck. When you really look at the daily habits of these two groups, there is a stark contrast in how those 24 hours are spent. High achievers systematically optimize their hours. They constantly align their actions with their bigger goals. Meanwhile, those who find themselves struggling often have habits that allow time to just passively slip away. It's this daily, hour-by-hour divergence that compounds over weeks, months, and ultimately years. So, the absolutely crucial point here is that success isn't just handed out. It's defined by maintaining a relentless output day after day. The text gives us a specific term for this: consistent productivity. Notice the word consistent. It is not about a sudden, fleeting burst of motivation. It's not about pulling a single frantic all-nighter or having one highly productive Tuesday. Consistent productivity is identified as the primary differentiator between failure and wealth. It's all about the mastery of daily time. It's the ability to wake up and execute a routine with iron discipline, regardless of how you might feel in the moment. Wealth and success, according to the source, are simply the lagging indicators of how consistently you master the daily hours entrusted to you. To prove that this isn't just some abstract pie-in-the-sky theory, the source grounds the philosophy in a very real-world experience. The narrator actually opens up about hitting an absolute wall, facing severe academic failure. They were specifically failing their core university classes, think macroeconomics and calculus, and were literally on the verge of dropping out. But the turnaround didn't come from a magical tutor, a sudden spike in IQ, or a stroke of good luck. Nope. The turnaround came from taking uncompromising control over their daily routine. They started waking up at 5 a.m. sharp every single morning. They installed strict website blockers on their laptop to completely eliminate social media distractions during study hours. Basically, they stopped letting the day happen to them and started happening to the day. Now, the transition out of that failure didn't just happen overnight. It happened right there in the middle phase, mastering the daily routine. In the past, that academic failure was the direct result of unmanaged time, sleeping in, cramming at the last possible minute, doom scrolling. But changing the daily routine became the ultimate catalyst. By enforcing strict 2-hour blocks of deep work and treating their study schedule like a highly demanding full-time job, those 24 hours were finally weaponized for their benefit. And the inevitable result in the future? Dramatically increased output and ultimately success. The text uses this progression to prove what is essentially a mathematical certainty. If you change the inputs in the middle phase, your daily habits, you completely rewrite the output of your future. The text distills this core philosophy into one unavoidable truth. Quoting here, personal success is determined by how effectively an individual manages their limited daily time. Notice how the author doesn't say success is determined partially by time or that it's just one of many factors. It places the entirety of personal success squarely on the shoulders of daily time management. And pay attention to the word limited. It brings us right back to our very first principle. Those 24 hours are draining away as we speak, and how effectively you manage that draining hourglass is the sole determining factor of your success. So, the author argues you really don't need a crystal ball to see where you're going, you just need an honest audit of your habits. This is where the blueprint becomes intensely practical for us. The text claims that anyone's future trajectory can be accurately predicted right now. How? Well, step 1, examine your current daily schedule. And I mean be brutally honest with yourself. Track where every single hour goes. Step 2, measure your consistent productivity. Ask yourself, are you actively producing or are you just busy? Are you consuming or are you actually creating? And step 3 is the inevitable result. Accurately predict your future trajectory. Your future is literally hiding in plain sight. It's written in the mundane details of what you did yesterday, what you're doing today, and what you will do tomorrow.
Think about this for a second. If a total stranger were to look at your calendar, your screen time, and your daily habits over just the last 7 days, what kind of future would they predict for you? Would they predict wealth and success based on your consistent productivity, or would they predict a struggle? The 24-hour blueprint proves that the power to change your life isn't hidden in some distant future milestone. It is sitting right there in the very next hour of your day. So what does your daily schedule predict?